Hey everyone, just quick announcement before I share today's episode with Will Flores. Will's doing some amazing work and I'm excited for him to get to share his story. But just want to take a minute to share the release of my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. It's a cute book with bright pictures that follows a toddler on her trips to the chiropractor. It shows her excitement and how she knows that it impacts her health in a positive way. And each purchase of the book will support a project that I started called the Unlock Wellness Project. For each purchase of the book, we will be donating a wellness bag to a child in need. These wellness bags will include non-toxic, chemical-free essentials such as soap, shampoo, toothpaste, a toothbrush, items that a lot of the time children in tough situations don't have access to. We're also going to be shipping wellness bags to flood victims in Houston, Texas, and reaching out to victims of Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria as well. You can learn more about the book and the Unlock Wellness Project by going to drkaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the shop tab, then click the children's book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video with more information. You can also purchase the book directly on Amazon.com by searching Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. But I hope you guys love the book. Be sure to check out my website to learn more, and thank you so much for the support. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Will Flores. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Will Flores. And Will is a senior in business school and is also passionate about plant-based nutrition and also skateboarding. And he puts out amazing content on Instagram and YouTube. And I'm just excited for him to share his personal wellness story and really what's led him along his path. So, Will, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you, Casey. I really appreciate it. Never been a part of a podcast, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. So why don't you just jump into your backstory? So where you're from and where you're living at now, and then just kind of walk us through your wellness journey to kind of like where you are right now.
So I'm a Texas boy, South Texas, born and raised, San Antonio to be specific. I've lived here all my life. And I got into skateboarding at a pretty young age. I first picked it up when I was about 5 years old. And I didn't really get super into it until about middle school or so is when I started to take it more seriously. But I guess throughout my childhood, I was always kind of interested in how the human body works and how it responds to what we put it through and how we feed ourselves and everything. And it didn't really start, I guess, tipping over until about 2013, I would say. That was my my first year in college, and I was doing a lot of traveling that year and the year after for skateboarding related stuff. And I had actually gotten back from the X Games in 2013. It was a amateur contest thing that I'd done. And
cool. Yeah, I was going to ask if you actually compete.
Yeah, no, I used to compete a little more. There used to be more competitions and more of like a community thing in Texas, or at least in my area. And it's kind of slowed down. That kind of sucks. But I was more into competition a few years ago, and then nowadays it's more so just for fun. And I guess just doing it on YouTube, just exploring what I like doing on social media. But yeah, no, at that time I was skating a lot, and I had definitely paid attention to, I guess, taking care of myself. And I was into, the morning smoothies just as much as any average person or athlete. And I had just really started, I guess, paying attention to that more. And my girlfriend at the time, which is now my fiance, she had gotten into vegetarianism, and she really expressed an interest in it. And at the time I was just like most other people, ridiculing her, saying, where are you going to get your protein from? Or,
right.
Just sort of teasing her about that. And the more and more she would talk about it, I would just sort of get interested and do my own research. And so she ended up, dabbling in it and then just sort of getting out of it over time. And so we just sort of mentioned it, and I had gotten more into it, and then I had said, well, what if we do it together and we just see how we like it? Or we just made it into a challenge. And I was like, okay, well, I bet I can do it for longer than you. And so she accepted, and we started, I guess, doing it together. And she just got really, she really liked the results, or I guess just feeling happier and just being healthier and everything. And so, give me a second here. Sorry.
No problem.
So we both really enjoyed it, and it wasn't really something that I guess was too difficult. I mean, a lot of people like to think vegetarianism was kind of difficult or something that's, kind of out there for the average person. But to be honest, I mean, it's not too difficult when you're still eating dairy products and eggs and things like that. So it's mainly, I guess, just cutting out the actual meat and whatnot. So for a while, it wasn't too difficult for me. And then I guess the word of vegan or veganism started coming into picture. And we had both looked into it, and we were interested in it. And it wasn't something that was super popular at the time. I would say it was about a year or two before it really started taking off, since now it's huge. It's all over social media and everything.
Right.
But at the time, you would really have to, I guess, do your own research or really be into what you're doing to sort of get into it, because it was sort of, I believe,
there wasn't as much information as there is now because of the popularity just wasn't there yet. Like you didn't have the documentaries, or it just wasn't as easy, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially now with like Cowspiracy and What the Health and everything coming out. It's really just blown up. Like it's really gotten huge. And so compared to just a few years ago, I mean, the information was out there, but you'd really have to, it was more of like a niche sort of culture, at least in America. That's what I was getting at. But yeah, we had looked into it, and for me, it was mainly, I guess, just still eating cheese, and mostly cheese, not really eggs and anything like that. But I was mostly hooked on dairy products still. And so I had looked into it more, and I didn't really have a grasp of what I would be doing as an athlete every day, like as far as like a staple routine and everything. So it was kind of it was difficult for me to wrap my head around at first. And I was, I guess, mainly picturing veganism, I guess, being as a lifestyle that would be dependent on these faux meats and all these other mock products, and it just seemed sort of like something that was not as attainable to me. Of course, that was my ignorance, since I didn't really know too much about it. But I was looking more into it, and I remember coming across, of course, Gary Yourofsky's famous speech on YouTube, talking about ethics and everything. And something I just
what was the name of that? It's funny because I think somebody just mentioned that on a previous episode. It's called like The Greatest Speech Ever or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
cool. I mean, I have to watch it. Like, you're the second person to tell me about that. I'm like, if I don't watch that soon,
yeah,
I'll write it down.
No. It's a very powerful speech, and it's mostly focused on ethics, I would say.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a powerful experience, and it was something that just really clicked in me. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. After this point, no matter how hard or how easy or hard it may be, I'm just going to dive into it. So I shared it with my fiance, and she looked at it as well, and she was like, yeah, we're going to do this. So I guess what had really charged us into veganism itself was the ethical standpoint. And soon after, to me, it all started to just sort of fall into place health-wise. I at first, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing as an athlete. I was skating a lot and whatnot, and I had my concerns about being able to meet my caloric needs and everything. And at first, yeah, it was I was eating a couple bananas or taking lots of trail mix with me or whatnot, just getting by and really just I guess trying to meet my needs.
Mm-hmm.
And
just see what works and what doesn't, and see how your energy levels are impacted by the different foods you have. Like it's a whole process. It's the whole learning.
It really
process.
is. Yeah. It really is. So I guess one thing I would say is that you really have to be involved and really be enthusiastic or passionate about it to an extent to really get to that point. Because we're not
Mm-hmm.
at a point in society right now, at least I think, to where it's easily accessible and available to everyone from day one. You know what I mean? Everyone has their own individual journey, and just sort of, I guess, tweaking the details, a little nuances, and finding what works for you. So, so I definitely jumped in from an ethical standpoint, and then over time, it just became more clear to me, health wise, what we should be eating as human beings. So, after that point, it was something that I got into pretty quickly. Like I said, overnight, I had listened to Gary's speech, and I was just, overwhelmed by the ethical part of it. And then I had after that point, I started looking up athletes on YouTube, and just trying to get an idea of how I should be eating. Because when you first, I guess, become vegan or experiment with veganism and eating plant-based meals, meals that are entirely plant-based, it may feel, very, it may be a feeling that you're physically that you're not used to as far as eating foods. A lot of us are conditioned to, I guess, eat meals that contain meat or dairy in them, or it doesn't feel like a complete meal. It can be a psychological thing, as
For
well.
sure.
So getting into it at first, you may feel, very light. You may feel very energetic, even if it's not considered, I guess, a healthier vegan meal, maybe just a vegan burger or something like that. It's definitely a different feeling. And then over time, I felt that start to like sort of go away. I started to realize that there are, I guess, vegan processed foods and whatnot. Like I said, the faux meats and whatnot.
Right.
And so I started to really distinguish that from what I eat mostly today, which is just unprocessed fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. I try to keep it at, mostly
basic.
Yeah, mostly raw foods. My roommate's a raw vegan, strict raw vegan, and I'd sort of dabbled in that for a while, but I do find that what makes me feel best is unprocessed, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So I started looking up a lot more people over time, and I'm sure you're familiar with Michael Arnstein.
I'm actually not. I'll write that down as well. What is you said he's an athlete?
Yeah, so he's I was very inspired by him after I got into veganism and was looking more into raw food. He's a endurance athlete and ultra runner, and he does 50 and 100-mile races. It'd be awesome if you can get him on
That's
the
what
podcast
I was about to say. It'd be awesome. Do you know him personally?
No, I don't actually, but I was looking into his videos on the internet a while back, and he was also featured on CNN and a few other major news outlets.
That's cool.
But I guess because, of course, he makes a good headline which says "Man who eats only fruits" or something like that. So, but yeah, so he was. So I was definitely inspired by him, and I started looking into why he's into fruitarianism or raw food and stuff like that. So here I went from, I guess, vegetarianism with my fiance, and then we got into veganism, and then we just started getting into more raw food, and so now I'm not super into like strict raw foodism now, but I'm happy with where I'm at, and I definitely embrace plant-based living. So like I said, I definitely looked into more of his videos, and I found other people that were doing raw food and stuff, and it just really resonated with me, especially as an athlete. And I guess just having that energy and not really dealing with, I guess, digestive issues on the go or having any stomach problems anymore.
Right.
So I started eating raw food for breakfast and lunch, smoothies or just mono meals and things like that. And it really just sort of, it really brought in more of a, I guess, a spiritual aspect to it as well. There's really nothing like it, as at least in my experience, as far as you know health, and not just physical health but mental health as well,
No,
and just
absolutely.
that yeah, that clarity of mind. So
I mean, it really is all intertwined, and like it's cool. Like whenever, I mean, almost every guest that has come on that is talking about like nutrition and or like fitness, it's they all say that similar thing. It's it really is mind, body, spirit. Like it's not compartmentalized. Like the healthier
definitely,
you are, the more in tune you can be with with God, or like it's just like it really is all intertwined, and it's really cool to see that.
it really is, yeah. So that's really, I guess, what brought me to like a peak as far as, yeah, mind, body, spirit. It's really and it's a very powerful thing. It's something you just got to experience. But yeah, that was, I would say, I guess that would be my, like, an overall like summarization of like where I was a couple years ago
That's
to
cool.
today. So I just sort of eased into it through just a silly challenge that I had set up, and then it ended up getting into veganism, and then more so into raw food and the health aspect of it, to where I became really passionate about like health science. And I'm not a med student, maybe in another life, or and maybe later on down the line. But yeah, I became really interested in that, and it led me to where I am today. So I sort of took what I know as far as skateboarding and skateboarding culture, and
Mhm.
just things that I'm really into and enjoy. And instead of, I guess you would say, a couple years ago, I was more so focused on seeing if I would be able to make a career out of skateboarding, and that's what I was more focused on. But then I started to, as all this was going on, I was skateboarding still, and traveling, and uh, just really trying to put myself out there as far as skateboarding goes. And then this whole health shift was going on, and I was, discovering veganism and raw food, and all these things. And it started to sort of, I guess, change my focus. And I really wanted to, instead of, over the years, I've had a lot of different sponsorship opportunities, and things like that. And I met a lot of people through skateboarding, and it changed from, the focus really went from, I guess, wanting to go down that career path to just sort of spreading a positive message that I felt that more people would connect to, or that really
Right.
resonated with me, versus just, being sponsored and promoting products and whatnot. I'm not saying that sponsorship is bad. Obviously, that's a vital part of business, especially in skateboarding and other sports. But it was, since this thing really changed my life, I had wanted to spread the message to help change others' lives. So I ended up starting a YouTube channel and an Instagram platform where I would talk about ethics and nutrition, and what I eat on a daily basis, just to inspire other people to do the same.
Hmm.
Because I didn't really see too many people doing that on the skateboarding front, because traditionally skateboarding, uh, a lot of people reluctantly will call skateboarding a sport. Like they won't call it a sport at all, because
Right.
uh, in skateboarding culture, it's very, at least his
Outcast-ish.
yeah, outcastish, and also just sort of linked with
Right.
drugs and alcohol, and just a lot of other negative things, I guess. And so I guess the people within the culture just are sort of reluctant to introduce it as a sport. And when any corporations get their hands on it, like Nike or Adidas heavily does now, there's a lot of resistance to that. And there's a whole lot of opinions as far as that goes. But generally, what I guess I'm saying is that skateboarding is, at least from the past couple of years, it's changing slowly, but it's not really, I would say, a culture that's uh, traditionally super accepting of health and positivity, and
Hmm.
sports, type of camaraderie. So I wanted to sort of see a change in that, and I wanted to, I guess, just show people that it's not lame to take care of your health or to outwardly express that as a skateboarder, or to to really to be conscious of that, and to spread that type of message. And it was something that I'd never really seen other people uh, outwardly promote so heavily on social media. So I don't know. For a while, I felt like it was my calling. So
That's cool. No, I like that how you are using that platform to mix the two, and like you were saying, like you're not seeing it in that culture, so you're like it's kind of like you feel that responsibility, and you're showing that it's like, yeah, that it is, I mean, it is cool, like take care of yourself, like if you're healthier, like you can be a better skater, and like you can be a better version of yourself and actually excel at what you're trying to do. um
yeah,
and no, I love that. I love that you're really just using the platform just to reach your audience. Like, yeah, maybe you're not going after being a pro skater anymore, but now you have that audience, that attention from all of these other skaters that you can really make a culture shift.
yeah.
And that's an even bigger impact than being a pro skater. So it all falls into place once you kind of find that purpose and then mix it in with what you love to do.
Exactly, yeah, and the lines, what I've discovered firsthand from doing this, I guess the past 2 years or so, is that the lines between, I guess, professional skateboarding and I guess fame and regularity are really becoming blurred with social media.
Hmm.
So I've gotten a lot of people that I know that I looked up to growing up as skateboarders who follow me on social media now.
That's
And it's
cool.
just
Because you have, I
I'm
mean, you have a
just
pretll big following on Instagram. Like, I mean, that's,
yeah.
you have a big reach.
Yeah, it took a while to get to that point, but yeah, I would get a lot of people that would follow me from, I guess, across the skateboarding industry, and
Hmm.
people that I'm like, whoa, I looked up to this dude, or I would watch his videos and stuff, and it's just it's crazy to
That's
think
cool.
that Joe Schmo from Texas could get some following across the globe. So I guess that's what social media is doing, just connecting us all around the globe. So it definitely it's been incredible to have an impact on people's lives, and get messages from different countries and whatnot, of people that like your videos and follow you and wait for you to post something new. So yeah, it's been a definite change in my life, I guess, from focusing on what I was doing a couple years ago to where I am today. So it's regardless of whether or not I choose to continue being on social media to spread the message, it'll definitely carry itself throughout my life as far as health and whatnot, and just helping me you know stay on track as far as mind, body, and spirit goes. So yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love that. That's amazing. And like, so what do you, I know you're getting ready to finish up business school. So like, do you have like a game plan for that? Or like, what are you, like plans you have for the future to kind of combine all these things that you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, for the past couple years, I had just, to be honest, I was just kind of like, I guess, just sort of twiddling my thumbs in college, so I could continue doing what I'm doing, and be able to call myself a student, I guess, and sort of I guess reluctantly reaching towards the end. It feels great to do what I'm doing now, and I know a lot of people make their living, or at least majority of their living, off of social media and doing things like that. And so I've had a number of options, I guess, presented to me, especially like within the past year or so, of what to do, in terms of, I guess, maybe full employment or part-time employment while working on my own ventures, or maybe starting a business. So it's just something that I'm just taking it, day by day, as it goes, and just sort of seeing what life brings to me. But I've definitely, I'm happy, doing whatever, as long as I know that I can express myself, or at least contribute to a positive message that means something to me. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so I guess something that my outlook towards jobs, or things like that, is, for a long time, has been sort of like instrumentalism, I guess, towards using a job as, like, I guess, a means to an end, to
Mhm.
while really, I guess, focusing on things that you're passionate about. So that had been my view for a while, and it may change over time, but I've definitely I find my highest purpose, I guess, in doing things that mean a lot to me, and
Right.
not just a lot to me, but I guess that can really, bring new communities about, and such as what I'm doing today. So
Right.
I hadn't been like as active like in the past year with what I'm doing as I was in the first few years when I started, but I'm still out there doing it. I got busier, I guess, with working and whatnot, and I'm in between jobs right now, so I have a little bit more time to attend to it. But yeah, no, I'm just definitely going to keep doing what
That's
I'm
cool.
doing, and
Yep.
just take it day by day. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
when you're doing stuff that makes you happy and like you're passionate about it, like just like everything else fell into place, like it all falls into place, and then you're able to reach more and more people on a bigger scale. So no, it's awesome, and I know you're going to do amazing things, and I'm excited to watch along. So yeah, so Will, what is the best way for people to follow you on social media? That way they can keep up with everything that you're doing and all of the great content that you're putting out there.
yeah. So I on Instagram, my name is Plant Rider, and I have a YouTube channel that goes under that name as well. And I also have a second YouTube channel that is just for skateboarding related trick tips and whatnot, just skateboarding content, and that's called Skate Hacks. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram or those two YouTube channels.
Awesome. And then, Will, just closing question that I ask every guest. But if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it was something that was your biggest takeaway through your whole wellness journey. But if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
I would say definitely follow your intuition. Do what you think feels right, or what you're interested in, or passionate about. Just sort of outside of feedback of anyone in your life. Just take some time to yourself to ask what it is you're truly passionate about, and whether you tackle it head on, or whether you keep it on the sidelines. As long as you have that element in your life, I think that's the key to happiness and success.
Awesome. I love it. It's perfect. And Will, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited for people to start following you on Instagram and YouTube and just keep up with all your amazing work. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Will. He's doing such positive work, and I'm excited for you guys to follow him on social media to keep up with everything that he's doing. You can find the social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Will's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Will, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. And like I spoke about in the intro, also be sure to check out my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. Each purchase of the book supports the Unlock Wellness Project, which applies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. You can learn more about the book and the Unlock Wellness Project on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Shop tab, then choose the Children's Book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video to learn more. If you do purchase the book, be sure to share it on social media using the hashtag UWProject. I'll repost it and give you a shout out on the podcast. But I hope you guys love the book. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope you loved today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.